What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Barking for Balance, the podcast where we talk about dogs, but we also talk about whatever it is that's meant to teach, inspire, and entertain. I am Pat the Packman, dog behavior and rehabilitation specialist at Packman to the Rescue, Canine Solutions and Coaching. What do we do there? We train people, not dogs. You heard that correct. We train people, not dogs, because that's what it's about. Welcome if you're joining for the first time. If you've been here before, welcome. And welcome either way, benvenuto a tutti, parliamo siciliano. We talk Sicilian here, as you already know. We have fun. We talk about all sorts of cool topics. And this is one of those episodes where it's going to be very non-dog. This is going to be an episode non-dog. It's actually something that I think will really benefit you guys. And I mean, it's a shocking thing to me. I want to just dive right in because I'm going to get emotional, just so you guys know. I'm going to have some tears coming out of my eyes because there's just some shocking stuff and just incredible stuff. And you'll understand what I mean in a second. So let's just dive right into this whole thing. So let me start off by saying that if you've listened to me before, if you have read my autobiography, God Spelled Backwards, which reminds me, if you haven't, what are you waiting for? God Spelled Backwards. You got to read my autobiography. Go get a copy of that thing. It's awesome. It's about my life. It's a cool book about dogs, about me. It's just awesome. I'm getting some great feedback from it. So you definitely that's an inspiring and an entertaining read. You'll definitely love it. So go take a look at it. But again, if you read my book, and if you are listening to the podcast, if you know anything about me, you know that God is my center. Everything I operate by is circles and focuses on faith and patience. My mantra is gotta have faith and patience. So we talk about God, obviously. We talk about faith and a lot of these things as to why my faith and patience are so crucial. And it does apply into this path when it comes to dogs, is simply because of the fact that believe it or not, it helps me stay calm. We talk about 95% of the battle. It's all about being calm. 95% of this battle when it comes to dogs is about calm mind, relaxed body. It's really that simple. That's 95% of this battle. And everybody knows about it and understands it, that dogs feed off our energy, our emotion, blah, 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 blah. But you got to understand that it's about calmness. And for me, that's what I need. I need the Signore. God is just the my focus of having faith in God on every set of in anything. I can't even talk. I'm already starting to get emotional. But on everything that I do, especially when it comes to the dogs, knowing about the fact that God is in charge of everything and I have the patience to understand that, it keeps me calm. It keeps me relaxed. And that's really the key here. And I'm learning it every day. And I am stunned. Again, if you have read my book, you'll see so many examples of how I've come out of situations, not gotten myself into situations, just basically, without a scratch, if you know the story of how I came to this career path, that I was afraid of dogs until I was 28 years old. How did I overcome my fear? Basically, I got married. That has nothing to do with it, by the way. That was a whole other story. But I got married 6 months later, got divorced, ended up in my first apartment, and that's where I was surrounded by a bull mastiff and a coonhound consistently, and that was really the element that helped me overcome my fear. So this was a marriage that should never have happened. Again, you got to read that chapter. You're going to get a kick out of that whole experience. Holy cow, is that crazy? But if you follow on social media, you see some of the stuff. And speaking of which, make sure you follow us on social media under Packman to the Rescue on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget, subscribe to the podcast if you ain't done so already. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? Spotify, Google, Amazon, and Apple. So hit those subscribe buttons, wag your tail on over, and slap a paw on all those subscribe buttons and those follow buttons and like buttons and all those buttons. Make sure you get that done. So this way you could keep track of all the stuff that's happening. And so we're talking about how I got married. That marriage should have happened. It was a disaster. It was clear that it was a mess. Even way before that whole event that event took place, but it was a catalyst. It was a necessity. It was something that had to happen, because had I not gotten married, I never would have moved out of my parents' house. I never would have moved into this apartment, and I never would have overcome my fear, which is really the first step that made this happen. If I had never overcame my fear of dogs, I wouldn't be here. I would be doing something completely different. You know what I'm saying? So that's really key here. That was the key. So learning what I did afterwards, when I learned the concept of faith and patience, was me understanding that, wow, so to get to this career, I had to wait till I was 40 years old to get to this path. I had to go through all these different steps. And there was obviously multiple steps, the whole sock situation. Again, much more details of that in the in God Spelled Backwards in the book. So and I'm not plugging, I'm just telling you, this book is the best. You're gonna really, really love it. I mean, it's a bomb. I know I'm bragging, but oh, hey, get your father. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But it is. I'm really proud of it, and it's done. It's doing the job that I wanted it to do, which was to inspire and to entertain, and I'm getting the feedback on that. So, all these different things that took place, and all these different, situations, these supposed problems, the divorce situation, getting socks, and all these different things that kind of like were just steps, right? And along the way, I've always had different things take place. And I'm learning, even at the, close to a midlife situation, to a mid-level of years, we'll call it. Old age, get your divided. You know what? You want to live, you got to get old. That's how it works. But getting close to that and still learning and realizing just what God has done for me and what my faith is done. It's so like incredible. So why do I say all this? Well, I actually shot a podcast. I forget which episode number it was, but I shot a podcast about cats and how I take care of the feral cats in the area. I've been doing that for years. And my ex is really, when she was living here is when we started, when she, I kind of wanted to get this done. She kind of, got the ball rolling. And from there, she kind of actually has her own rescue now that is doing phenomenal when it comes to cats and all these different programs and all this. She's doing amazing. And it started off by just me wanting to just help the cat population in the area. So from there, we actually I used to take care of the cats in the area. And after her and I broke up and she moved out, I still continued to take care of the cats in the area. And again, there's an episode where I talk about this. So one cat in particular, I used to call him Scooter. I thought it was a male, and I used to call him Scooter. And, after a period of time of me consistently just, applying the same concepts of dog, which I wouldn't try to pet him. I wouldn't talk to him. I would just give him food, hang out outside. Eventually I would try to get closer, never talk, no eye contact. I would apply the basic psychology, There was also some things that I learned when it comes to cats. So psychologically, believe it or not, there's techniques with cats too that I learned, and I was applying some of that stuff, and eventually this cat started to trust me. I could pet him while he's eating. Eventually he would come closer to me. And to make a very long story short, this cat became basically my outside cat. He would always be outside that house. Whenever I was out with Socks or Pepper, he would follow us up and down. In fact, and all the neighbors would be like, what is this? You walk in a cat? Like, is this your cat? Like, what's the story here? It was crazy. And he would follow us up and down, rub up against me, rub up against Socks and Pepper. Eventually, what I started to do was I would hang out outside with him. And this was my ritual every single night. And it became a ritual like almost every single time that I was outside with the dogs. I would just, add a chair downstairs, and I would just pull the chair out, a folding chair, come out, sit down, hang out with them. And eventually he would actually jump up on my lap. There's been multiple times where he fell asleep. It was so adorable. Like, he would fall asleep on my lap. So he kind of like began to trust me. I was able to rub his belly, and we just became so close. And my intention was always to bring him in because he became mine. I became his and he became mine, and he got along great with the dogs. The dogs got along great with him. It was just a match made in heaven. But because I have Hannibal, my parrot, I also just wasn't sure. It was a little bit of hesitation on my part, maybe a little bit of fear, nervousness, whatever you want to call it, on actually pulling the trigger on bringing this cat in the house. So I would always just, drag my feet and procrastinate, but I always wanted to get this done. And every single time that I was outside, I have a ritual that I applied as well, since I was hanging out with him outside, was I would talk to God. And this is something that I do personally, something that I highly recommend. I would talk to God as a person. I would talk to myself back, like, basically I'm talking to myself with answering myself back. So Ford, I'm telling everybody that would see me or hear me. I don't know if anybody ever saw or heard me, but they would be like, Ford. They're like, this guy is crazy over here. But you know what? Whatever. But it would be like, it became such a valuable tool for me because it was basically like having a conversation. And I got so much value out of that. Like I kind of like rationalized problems. I overcame issues. I thought of solutions. Like so many things came out of it just by me talking to God, because that's really my center. You know what I mean? So there was a time where once Scooter just disappeared. I forget how long he was gone for, but it was multiple days. And of course, I got worried and I was panicking and I was freaking out and I was all upset. Oh my God, I can't believe this. This blah, blah, blah. You know, I was so sad. I actually cried. I'm not going to lie. I actually cried. Oh my God, did he get killed? Did he get hurt? Is he kidnapped? You know, the mind, the brain goes into all these different tangents and start creating all these different movies and all these different, the scenarios and images and, of course, none of them are pleasant, And so finally I did what I said I do when it comes to God. I talked to him, I talked to him and I told him, I was like, where's Scooter? I want Scooter back. You got to bring him back. And it became like I got yelled at. Basically, that's really what happened is I started yelling at myself. I got yelled at by God. And why did that happen? I'm telling you, swinging forward. But you know what? I don't feel it that way. It's really such a great conversation. It's really helpful. Anyway, I got yelled at by God. And why was that? Is because I really wasn't applying the concept of having faith. Now, you got to understand, every time I was outside with him and it was cold out, or it was a storm, or it was snow, or whatever the hell was going on, multiple times, and even if nothing really was going on, multiple times, I did what I do for just about everything, is I gave him to God. I handed him over. I said, God, make sure you protect him, make sure he's okay. Make sure that he doesn't get run over by any cars, no animals, no douchebag, people, dogs, whatever. I gave him to him. He was under his wing. He was under his protection. And I did this multiple times. So I got yelled at because I was trying to take that back. Right. And it became a thing where I realized in my own mind, throwing through this as God is talking to me. And I really feel that that's kind of like the conversation that's happening. Is he's clarifying in my mind that regardless, and this is really what's happened multiple times, is even if it's something that I don't want, if it's best for me or if it's bad for me, even if I want it or don't want it, God's going to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? I could make all the mistakes in the world. It's going to gira furia bota, turn this way, turn that. It's always going to come back to be to my benefit. This is how the pattern has always been, because of the fact that I put everything on him. So this was one of those things where I gave it to him and now I'm trying to take it back. I'm trying to do it myself. You know what I'm saying? So God's like, listen, if you want to do it yourself, then I'm out. It's not together. It's either you handle it or I'm handling. Do you want me to protect them or do you want to protect them? Do you want you to take care of them or do you want me to take care of them? And I got news for you. I am always going to step back. And this was one of those occasions where I was like, trying to take something back. And what ended up happening was, I recognized that as much as, I didn't want that to happen, I knew that he was protected from God, that nothing bad was going to happen to him. But the thought also was, well, he's become friendly. I'm not sure if he's friendly with other people too. Maybe somebody got him and now they took him in their own home. And that kind of bothered me, believe it or not. So the conversation became, well, listen, I don't care if you're upset about it. This is God talking to me. I don't care if you're upset about it. I have to do what's best for Scooter. I have to do what's best for him because that's what you asked me to do. Right? I asked him to take care of him and to protect him and to basically make sure he was okay. So it's not about me. It was about him. So if he found a situation where he was in a home that could provide him what he needs, I wasn't doing it. I was just giving him food. Sure, I was giving him his treats. I was doing all the necessary things. Absolutely. But if he could put him in a situation that's even better off the streets, that's what's necessary. Yes, I'm going to miss him. Yes, I'm upset. But the biggest thing was the not knowing, right? The fear of the unknown, not knowing what had happened to him. But here's what I learned. And here's what I realized. I didn't have to know. Once I handed him over and once I said, God, this is yours. Whatever happens, I trust you. Right? That was it. I don't have to know anymore because I handed him over to God. And that's how it works. If I start worrying, if I start paying attention, if I start, trying to do things by myself and I start wondering, I don't have trust. I don't have, here it is. I don't have faith. You see what I'm saying? The faith is not there. The same thing I teach my clients is when it comes to like their dog. Oh, maybe there's a little bit of dog stuff here. When it comes to like their dogs, is you got to have faith. You got to have faith in yourself. You got to have faith in your dog. Well, what if he screws up? What if I screw up? It's okay. You go back to basics and we start again. You got to see it in your mind. You got to understand. You got to see the end result in your mind in order for it to materialize and to come true. Guys, I'm telling you, it's really that simple. You got to see it in your heads. Even if you don't believe it, you got to make yourself believe it. And so once I had this conversation, and I remember this, I was in my car. I was having a good conversation. I was stuck in traffic. And I was in my car and I was getting yelled at. Of course, I was by myself. So I'm sure that people, if they were looking at me, they're like, drink. He probably was having a couple of drinks there, but I was yelling at myself. It wasn't myself. I wasn't yelling at myself. It was God yelling at me through me, and I'm having this conversation and I'm in tears because I got it. I understood it was him. Okay. Well, once I understood that and I basically let it go because, hey, it's not in my hands anymore. I gave it to God. He's going to take care of Scooter. You know what I'm saying? It's in his hands. That same night, I know people are going to be like, yeah, that's just a coincidence. It's the God honest truth. That same night, all of a sudden, guess what happened? Scooter popped up. Hand to God, swear to God, Scooter showed up. And I was like, wow, okay. I continue to learn my lessons, right? And I'm human. Listen, I'm a human guy and I continue to learn. I continue to stumble through all these things as much as, I try my best. There's going to be times when, the humanity side starts to take over and, it is what it is. So we fast forward to now Scooter's showing up regularly. He's getting his food, he's getting his treats. We're hanging out the whole 9 yards. Last month, suddenly Scooter vanished again. Okay. And of course, we start with the images. But this time, those images, yes, they were sad. There was, I was crying. I was upset, the fear of the unknown. But this time, I was able to recognize the situation. And yes, I didn't know what had happened to him, but I had given him to God again, multiple times to protect him, to take care of him. And the part that really bothered me on multiple levels, this is the part that really bothered me. And people that know me know that I've been told that I have this thing called superhero complex where, I believe that I should be able to save the world and do things that are above a human's capabilities. Like when Peanut passed away, I blame myself and I was my fault and I should have done this and I could have done that. And, and no matter how many people tried to tell me otherwise, I firmly believe that it was on me. I could have saved him, and obviously it's, it is what it is. It's not in my hands. And that's one of the things that I started to learn when it comes to like this. So this was just a recap. I would sit outside this time without Scooter in my lap and I would just start bawling, just crying. And I started talking to God. And it basically came out where it was me. I was blaming myself. I should have taken him in. I'm so stupid. I'm so lazy. God damn it. If I only want to bring him in, he would be okay. He'd be living with us. He'd be happy, blah, 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 blah. And it came back to the same thing. And this time it was two things. The first part was, Pat, seriously, you gave him to me. He's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is just to take care of him, to provide his food, to give him the love, to give him his treats, to give him your the affection. That's it. The protection part, that's on me. You told me that's what you want. If you don't want to do it, I'll give him back to you. No, that's definitely not what I want. Right. But the other side was the blame game. It's my fault. I should have done this. I should have done that. And throughout the years, in various situations, whether it was business situations, whether it was school situations, whether it was relationship situations, even silly things as, food shopping situations, stupid, insignificant things. What I really learned, like this marriage situation, was that no matter what mistakes, no matter what foul ups I would do, God would always find a way to rectify it. Right. As I'm doing this conversation thing of back and forth, and this also helped me, believe it or not, when it came to like the dog stuff, when it came to like changing careers, it still helps me now, like, writing a book and doing a podcast and doing all this stuff that's just, new and foreign to me. I have to talk myself into it sometimes. And because, the doubt, the fears, the tension, the nervousness kicks in, and so again, it became when I recognized that it wasn't, even if I did mess up, even if I did make those mistakes, maybe I should have taken them in sooner, but if it doesn't matter, because no matter what, regardless of whether I do the right thing or the wrong thing, it's always going to turn out normal. It's always going to turn out fine. It's always going to turn out for what is best, And so I recognize, and I had to force myself at first, but it was weird because it didn't take me long this time. It didn't take me long to let go, to forgive myself, to understand that not only did I allow Scooter, not only did I ask God to protect Scooter, which means he's bulletproof now, but I know, and I've asked God, and he knows to protect me, which makes me bulletproof. That's why I've had all these benefits and these things that have happened. Again, if you read my book, you'll see various examples of this, but it's that being bulletproof because you protect me, you take care of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give it to you, and now I'm done. It's kind of like, have you guys ever seen the Godfather? If you haven't, come on, guys, you got to get over and watch the movie Godfather. It's awesome. The first and the second one, not the third one. Forget the third one. Number one and number two. But when the guy would go to the Godfather, the first movie, right in the beginning of the movie, he goes to the Godfather. He needs help. He leaves peaceful and happy and content because he asked the Godfather for help, and the Godfather said, no problem, I'll take care of it. And the guy knows that because he gave it to the Godfather, his problems are gone, right? This is the same example. I gave my problems to God. I continue to do so. They're gone. I give my dreams to God. They're done. They're going to happen, right? That's where the patience come in. Faith and patience, tandem, both together, right? That's the key here. So, it was a revelation, and I was so proud of myself because I was able to kind of like feel more at peace, knowing that regardless of me having done this, because it was easy for me to blame myself and, to feel bad. It's my fault. If only this and only that, again, the fear of the unknown, all that kind of good stuff. But once I recognized that it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what happened with all this stuff. It doesn't make a difference. It wouldn't have made a difference at all. So the whole premise with this was, as far, I'm getting a little emotional, so I apologize if I'm getting a little stuttery and a little, whatever, but I recognize that, God had his best interest at heart. It wasn't about me. Yes, I miss him. Yes, I hoped it. And of course, every once in a while, like a thought would bubble up, but it would get squashed really quick, those negative thoughts of what could have happened. So that was that. So why am I saying this? And why does this bring such, and it has this, why does this have such an important message? Well, just yesterday, I was outside with my dogs. The super from the complex, I live in a condominium complex. The super was coming by mowing the lawn, and he stops me and he says, "Hey, Pat, listen, there's this thing going on. Somebody supposedly, put a cat outside. Don't get me started with your foot up inside with that stuff. That's a whole other story. I got, we got things going on with that. But supposedly somebody, threw a cat outside, a kitten outside. So we're trying to look for, have you seen this kitten?" I was like, "Nah, I haven't seen anything." I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm asking him some questions. He goes, "Well, there's two girls that are looking for him. somebody said that underneath one of the buildings, they heard meowing. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. Is you want to talk to them? I was like, absolutely. So I brought socks and pepper back in the house, rushed outside, went to them, and we started chit chatting. And one of the girls, God bless her heart, her name is Diana. The other girl was Tara. She was inside this little crawl space. So the super had told me that it was very difficult to get inside this crawl space. And so the problem became like, how do we get to this cat from outside from this crawl space? And apparently it was like, there was these windows. I'm not exactly sure the dynamic of it, but the windows supposedly were open at one point, but then they ended up closing them. So this cat basically got trapped inside this crawl space. So we're looking for this kitten, very tiny little kitten. And what happened was that as I got there, here's Diana inside the crawl space with the trap. And I'm like, holy cow. So, we're chit-chatting with the girls. I'm like, oh, they told me the story of the kitten that they were looking for, whatever. Okay. So then from there, we move on. And, I go back home. I say, keep me posted. What's going on? If you need me to check the trap or whatever. I get a phone call a few hours later. We got a cat, but this is a bigger cat. I'm not sure about the situation. That I don't think it's the one that we're looking for, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, well, let me come because I have a feeling I know which cat it is. Tara, who had seen me outside with Scooter, said, I think it's the cat that was outside with you multiple times. I'm like, yeah, now that guy's been gone for a month. So I think I know which cat you're talking about because she described him. He was like white and gray. And I had seen this other cat, this other feral who's, comes sporadically, to eat the food that I put out. And so, I went over I kind of felt that was the cat, that was in there. So I get there. They have this trap. The trap is covered with the towel. I pull the trap out of this little crawl space, put it on the floor. I pick up the towel. And I was just, my jaw hit the ground. I could not talk. I'm like, oh my God, is this Scooter? And I was looking at him. And as soon as I started, it was so weird. In fact, the girls even noticed it. As soon as I started like calling his name and just talking to him and just getting close and whatnot, he started meowing. And as soon as he started meowing, I knew that it was him. I recognized that meow anytime, anywhere. And he started meowing. And every time I would get close, he would start meowing. And you could tell that he was comfortable once I showed up. Even though he was scared of being in the trap, he was like hissing at them when they would get near, but not with me, So, I grabbed, I'm flustered. I'm like going back and forth, trying to figure things out. I'm like, what am I going to do? I have this other dog, this dog that's staying with me. That's a client's dog, Sydney, as a matter of fact. I have Sydney staying over here with me. And if you guys don't know Sydney, you got to get to that autobiography. The whole case of Sydney is in there. So you got to make sure you read up on Sydney, but Sydney's here. I have Hannibal. I'm not set up to bring a cat into this house. You know what I mean? So I'm panicking as we're trying to figure out, like, what do we do? Nobody could take him, this, that, and the other thing. Well, we set him free and then we just go back to normal. But the fear became twofold. Number one, is he terrified he's going to run away? Or is he going to, get hurt again? He's going to get trapped again. I mean, there was just so many thoughts going into my mind. Like, what do we do? And to basically what ended up happening was he's been trapped. Apparently, I'm not 100% sure, but I have to say that seems to be the case, that somehow he ended up in this crawl space. I don't know if he's gone in this crawl space before, but somehow if they closed the windows, he was trapped in there and he couldn't get out. But it didn't make sense for him to be able to get out from there and not come back to where I was. It just didn't make any sense. So the only thing that makes sense to me is the fact that he was trapped this entire time. And it pisses me off because, like, the neighbors upstairs, they heard this meowing, but they never said anything. And we're talking about a month. You know what I mean? It really just pisses me off. But anyway, so let's not get carried away. So it's been a month, right? So I'm trying to figure out like what we're going to do. So I'm scrambling. Okay, what do we do here? Can you make phone calls? It's like late. It's like, it was like 6, 7 o'clock at night. We're trying, okay, what do we do here? Can you take? Well, I can't because I got this. I got the dogs. My dogs are aggressive and all this other stuff that's going on. So it was like, shit, what do we do? What do we do? So guess what I did? I called my ex. I actually had my sister call contact my ex. and I, I needed help. I needed to figure out what's going on. So see, God just brings it all back together. So exes or not, you see, we're all part of the animal world. We bond together, when it comes to saving the animal. That's how it's supposed to be, people. That's how it's supposed to be, working as a team, so I, had her call her, I had her contact her, and she said, yeah, have him call me and we're going to figure this out. So I called her. She said, okay, here's what you're going to do. She has an affiliation with the veterinarian in my same town, which is where I take my dogs to, and she takes her animals to. So she set up an appointment, through her rescue. So she set up an appointment the next day. So to take him, get him medically cleared, not to mention the fact that, they're going to board him for until next week, early next week. So that I could get the house in order. I could figure out how I'm going to, set this whole thing up with him and Hannibal, and how, Sydney's going to be going home at that point. So it's going to give me some time to kind of like get the necessary things, set this place up. So it's going to be, but to make a long story short, yeah, Scooter's coming home. Scooter's coming here in this house. So that's the bottom line. So I got the notification, the update from the vet, from her. And the notification from the vet, the update from the vet, I'm sorry, basically said that he was very, very underweight, very dehydrated, very malnourished, no injuries, nothing like that. They're taking a look at him. Obviously, they were going to make sure that he got his vaccinations once able to, but he definitely come home, on Monday. I did find out that Scooter is not a boy. Scooter is a girl. So guys, we need to figure out a name for Scooter as girls. So yeah, we got to come up with some names when it comes to Scooter, but we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, so Scooter is a girl, and it kind of had a feeling. I mean, to be honest with you, I used to, address him and, deal with him as a boy, but I kind of had a gut feeling that he was a girl, and as it turns out, she's a girl. So in fact, that was her text message when she wrote. She goes, "She's hey, it's a girl," that kind of thing, which is cool. She had already been spayed. She had her ear clipped, which I already, had seen that, so I knew that she was taken care of from that perspective. Otherwise, I would have done that myself. I don't want her getting pregnant. No. I'm Sicilian. You kidding me? Let my baby girl running around there go tutti stuff. I don't think so. You're gonna get pregnant on my watch. Stay away from those boys, young lady. But yeah, no, I don't know what kind of rescue did this, if she was a kitten and they spayed her and let her out. Supposedly they're saying, the vet's saying that she's between 1 year and 2 years. I don't know if that's the case. I think that's a little too young, to be honest. But I'm not sure. I don't really know. But yeah, so, we got to come up with a name. So I'm going to get to that in a little while. But the premise of the story is very simple. Okay. I had been at peace with not seeing Scooter for a while. And I'm going to say him just because it's just the force of habit. So just disregard that. Just the force of habit. I'd been at peace with knowing that Scooter was no longer being cared for by me. I had been at peace knowing that Scooter was safe, knowing that Scooter was not going through any kind of situation. Now, granted, the situation that he was in was not a pleasant one. Obviously, it wasn't a good situation, but at least it had a happy ending. Now, people will say, well, why did this have to happen to begin with? I'm not sure, but maybe these things have to happen because at this point, I have no choice but to bring him in. You know what I mean? He's not staying outside anymore. That's just a decision. Whether it would be me or other people, finding him a home, that's mandatory. So just like with me having to go through all that misery and the aftermath of the misery after the marriage to get to a certain destination, to accomplish a certain goal, maybe this was just part of it. And it breaks my heart, I'm not going to lie, of knowing that he's been trapped. This is just an assumption that I have, but it's an assumption that kind of like is based on common sense, that he's been trapped in there for a month. It breaks my heart, but I'm not going to think about that because at the end of the day, I know that even during that period where he was scared or whatever, he had God by his side, and I've been in those situations where I've been scared and hopeless and just, fear the unknown in other ways. There are bigger ways. And just, to the point where just things are really bad. And I've always had God by my side. This was the same thing, and that gave me comfort. I don't feel bad for it, because again, yes, it wasn't a great situation, absolutely, and I wish that did not happen, but he had God by his side. We had already had set that up, and so I knew, and I know that it's a matter of how this is all going to work out. So having this dynamic of how this all evolved, it kind of like was almost God saying, okay, enough. All right, now, before, you were hanging out with them outside. It was fun. It was, this and that and the other thing. But you know what? Now I want Scooter off the streets, you know? So this is how we're going to do it. And sometimes God does things in ways that are just, why do you have to do it that way? Because if you don't do it that way, the goal doesn't get accomplished. It's really that simple. Sometimes you have to go through the storm. You have to walk through the fire to get to the destination. It's really that simple. I've experienced it personally, guys. Even when it came to like working with socks, like to get to this point of becoming, the Packman, and becoming a dog behavior rehabilitation specialist, and having a business of Packman to the Rescue podcast, autobiography. I had to walk through the fire with socks to get to the destination. You know what I mean? Of understanding pit bulls, of understanding the dog psychology and dog communication and all that kind of good stuff. And he put me through the ringer. I had to walk through that fire to get to this point. It's just how it works. Sometimes you have to just be in a storm, and you could focus on the storm, or you could focus on God. And I choose to focus on God. The storm is around me, but my eyes, I'm focusing on God. He's going to get me through the storm. And the Scooter deserved this? Of course not. Of course not. But again, we could look at it from a variety of different angles. Some people might blame me. Well, why didn't you do something about it? I did what I was able, and I guess willing to do for the time being, which was, provide him treats and food, wet and dry, water, love, affection, attention, the protection factor again was from the Lord. But at the end of the day, my intentions were always to get him off the streets. And sometimes the timing is not up to me. I know, like I said before, that as much as I did blame myself a lot, regardless, it doesn't matter, because God's got control. He's going to, no matter what I do, no matter what bad stuff I do, no matter how stupid I behave, irresponsible, whatever you want to call it, he's going to make it whole. It's just, it is just that simple. So obviously this was a happy ending for everybody. Tara and Diana, especially Diana, who was crawling through the space, and she was just a trooper. God bless her soul. I want to get a major shout out for Diana and for Tara, who were just awesome. I also want to send a shout out to my other neighbor, Lisa, who took him in, in a crate. We put him in a crate just for the night before we were able to bring him to the vet. The vet was closed already, so we weren't able to bring him. So he had to stay over, and we were trying to figure out how to work that out. Again, me with my situation, them with theirs, but Lisa stepped up, and she's like, no, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to take him. And she did. She took him in. She took care of him, and she's awesome. So thank you to Lisa. Thank you to Tara, and a very, very special thank you to Diana. Obviously, thank you to our superintendent here at the complex. And I also want to thank my ex, Janae, who runs Pity Party Rescue. She came to the rescue. She was Pity Party to the rescue, Janae to the rescue, who, in all honesty, she saved, this, she's a huge animal lover. So, she took care of business. She stepped up and she did all this stuff, and, set everything up in a way that was just amazing. So special thanks to a Pity Party Rescue, Janae. I'm gonna have some links in there if you guys want to take a look at her rescue too. But it's a team effort. It worked out beautifully. With all of us. Diana, again, super awesome. Tara, Lisa, and Janae with a Pity Party Rescue. And we're able to save a cat, what I mean? And it makes me very happy to be able to bring him in to the pack and to bring him into the family. I've had cats before here, so, I'm not really concerned about any of that, but it's just going to be an adjustment phase. And, again, going back to what I was talking about with God, listen, I'm not trying to be a preacher here, guys. I'm not saying, believe in God. I'm not religious. I don't go to church or any of that stuff. And, this just, if you want to believe in a higher power, universe, whatever, do whatever you want. But this, like I was telling Tara and Diana yesterday, and I was saying, if you guys don't believe in God, you don't know what you're missing. You do not know what you're missing. And of course, last night, had my conversations, took my chair out, sat outside, and had a crying fest like you can't imagine. My Lord, I think I was like Niagara Falls, boy. She's bed much, cried a lot. Just the emotion of recognizing this whole thing and how this whole thing played out. The circle of events, had it not been for that situation of the cat being thrown out, had it not been for Diana, who lived near where this whole situation supposedly happened, had nobody contacted the fact that they heard this meowing situation, had she not had the balls to and just the courage, just God bless her, to go in there and to just to fight to get him out, and had the superintendent, the super of the complex, come and see me, and me not going over there. See how God works, how he puts these pieces together, just for the magic to take place. Who knows? Like, maybe I wasn't around. I would have, if I wasn't near, I wouldn't have seen this happen. Who knows what would have happened to Scooter? Maybe nobody would have recognized. I don't know. Like, the whole thing is just how it all worked out, of me being able to see this whole thing and to witness it. And they all saw how it all worked out. And it's just magic. It's very, very magical. And this is why I preach about having faith and patience. This is why I talk about having, God so much. I talked about this in the book. It's the reason why I wanted the book to have God and dog in that title. And that's why when it came to God spelled backwards, it just worked out perfectly. The whole premise about this is this is how it works. This is why, it's I don't even know how to explain it, but the bottom line, look into it, guys. Listen, I'm so happy. I'm so happy, that this is how it works out. This is how it all, this was the end. Like when you watch those movies and there's always like these twists and turns, and it's like, if there wasn't all these problems throughout the movie would be boring. You know what I mean? And this is kind of like how life is just a twist and turn of problems. And I find that, throughout those situations that could just either make you or break you, by me knowing that God is by my side and I just give this stuff to him, it gives me a sense of peace and comfort and happiness. And again, I could talk for myself, because people will look at it in different ways, be like, well, I've had these issues and I have this and I had that. Maybe that's because that's just life. It's how we deal with those issues. Again, when it comes to me, I give them to God, and then I just let them go. And whatever happens, good or bad, it is what it is. Listen, I've had a lot of bad stuff happen to me, a lot. And here we are, come out better than the last time. And you could say, oh, everything happens for a reason. Maybe, but if you want to look at it that way, I like to look at it like it's not up to me anymore. My decisions, my dreams, my goals, my problems are given away. Just like what I was saying about The Godfather. Once people, if you watch that movie, once people give the stuff to The Godfather, it's all gone. You know what I mean? They leave so peaceful and comfortable because they know their problems are taken care of. That's how this works. So listen, guys, let's not forget that we still need to name Scooter something else, because she's not, he's not a he, she's a she. So we got to make Scooter into a girl name. So let me hear some suggestions of some cool names that you guys like. So far, we have Diana on the table. I believe Diana was, let me just see, because I got this text message here that Diana, where is it here? Hold on a second. Diana, this is what I've been told. Diana is the goddess of strength. And obviously, it's the name of the girl who basically rescued her. So that's one name that's on the table, Diana, because it's the goddess of strength and it's the name of the person who rescued her. Also, Lexi is another name that's on the table, which I kind of like as well. let's see what you guys are coming up with, all sorts of different names. It could be like things, objects, whatever. I'm not that doesn't have to be like an actual name. It could be names of, whatever you want. So let's come up with some names. Help me out. Let me name this little kitty and I'll show a picture. That's why I want you to make sure you guys follow all the social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook. Those are on Packman to the rescue, Packman to the rescue. So this way, you'll see pictures and videos of her and, updates and all that kind of good stuff. And listen, this was a special episode, guys. It's the prodigal son returns, or the prodigal daughter in this case. So listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Barking for Balance. I really want to end with, gotta have faith and patience, guys. It's about training people, not training dogs. I gotta throw that in there, of course, because we gotta remind to remind people, but that's the case. But gotta have faith and patience. Make sure you take a look at read that book. Make sure you read God Spelled Backwards. Special thank you once again. They deserve it. Special thank you to Lisa. Special thank you to Tara. Especially special thank you to Diana, and an especially special thank you to Janae from Pity Party Rescue for all coming to the rescue of myself and of the scooter quotes around it. So listen, guys, any questions or issues, you know where to find me. Life is good. God is good. Gotta have faith and patience. Don't forget. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Barking for Balance. And don't forget, I will catch you guys next time. See you later.